Yo, what is going on, you guys? Welcome back to another video. So recently I just watched ClearValue Tax's video talking about will there be a second stimulus check. Man, although he did have some pretty interesting points and he has been pretty spot on with a lot of the things that he said in the past, there just was a couple things that I frankly disagree with that he stated in this video. Look, I get it. I don't have a CPA degree. I'm not in a fancy dress shirt with a tie and all, with my hair slicked back. The beauty about this platform is that really anyone can go on here and talk and voice their opinions. And frankly, during this time, I do not believe that some of the things he said were correct. So what I'm going to do is go over some of his points he made regarding whether or not there would be a second stimulus check. And I'll also give you guys my thoughts on whether or not there will actually be a second stimulus check. So one of the key points that ClearValue mentions about 2 minutes into his video,
you can read in between the lines the mood of the politicians. They're being more mindful of the country's debt levels and debt problems. Of course, this level of debt is concerning. So I understand both sides of the arguments. We need help right now to avoid economic collapse. However, we don't want to put more burden on the future generations by just piling on the debt unnecessarily.
He then continues to say that there's not enough money going around because we're not printing enough money. And I feel like this idea of the government's national debt and how much we can actually print money, there's some type of disconnect here.
I say that there will not be enough money to go around because we're not printing money to fund these stimulus packages. We're taking on more debt. So we're going further and deeper into debt. We're not printing money. Perhaps in the future, we will be printing money and that will cause inflation. But for the time being, this is all being funded by debt.
Look, the United States has about $20 trillion worth of debt. That sounds like a lot, right? And it is. But people often think that US national debt is the same thing as consumer debt. Since the beginning of time, even going back to 1940, there have been articles saying that the US national debt is this ticking time bomb. Everything's gonna go to ruin. This is all just, it's gonna blow up. And that is not the truth. When people are talking about how big the debt is and then try to compare this towards stimulus bills or different amounts of money that the government is used to funding programs, I feel like right there, something just doesn't line up. I'm not gonna go into full detail on talking about national debt, but if you guys want like an easy version to just read or look up, there are a ton of good YouTube videos out here as well too. But even on Reddit, if you guys just type in like national debt, explained easily, explain it to me like I'm 5 years old, you guys will have a better understanding. But a lot of our debt isn't made up of just regular bad consumer debt. But I would put our US national debt in the perspective of it being somewhat more like a stock. People, organizations, companies, different businesses, they all invest in the US Treasury because they actually make more money out of it. This is due to that small amount of interest that you guys will get on your investments. And for anyone who has just a little bit of knowledge on personal finance, you guys may have heard of purchasing bonds. It's kind of like stocks. You may have heard the analogy that, bonds are just going to be like your more safer bet. You can't pull it out for a long time, but you will still get interest on that amount. It's kind of like a stock, except you can't touch it and it takes a very, very long time for it to grow. Now, there is an argument that having more debt within the government is actually a lot healthier because people are willing to invest knowing that their money can actually come out. Now, having way too much debt could actually lead into inflation, and that's something a lot of people are concerned about as well. But keep in mind, we often don't see a global pandemic like this where the unemployment rate is through the roof, closing into 30%, where getting more money, printing more money, or getting more in debt is not going to have a drastic or detrimental impact as it would if there were no pandemic and we were trying to do like all these acts and universal acts and care law. And that's the issue that Andrew Yang and people like Bernie Sanders were having. A lot of our other politicians were focusing on the idea of universal income regardless of what was going on with our economy. So we could be in this like evergreen economy just going through the roof, and then boom, like everyone gets an additional $2,000. Then the theory of inflation would really kick in. It would make sense. But during this time, I really don't believe that adding on to the debt or printing more money is going to add on to the problem because we are already in a very unique situation. Now, later towards the video, ClearValue says that multi-month stimulus bills are just very, very unlikely. He claims that $1,200 is actually a lot and it should be more than enough for a lot of these people.
That $1,200 stimulus check, that should actually be of substantial help. Even if you're living in a big city like Chicago, that stimulus check money, that should be a really big help to you, because honestly, if you're in a household of 2 people with 2 kids, then that's a $3,400 stimulus check in 1 month.
Now, he put it into the example of if you have a family and you have 2 kids, you got your wife, that's $1,200 right here, that's another $1,200, and then you have 2 more $500 coming in from each of your kids. That adds up to that $3,400 amount. I just find it a little irritating when someone claims that this $1,200 is more than enough for these families to get by with. I do understand that the government is providing us with additional benefits, small business relief, unemployment benefits, but people are not taking into the fact that getting unemployment benefits is a pain right now. Time and time again, even with the PPP loan, we're seeing that funds are in such high demand right now, and the government has to sort through all these applications. And there will be people who go out of business. There will be people kicked out of their homes. There will be people who starve because the support was not enough. Look, even at the time of this recording, unemployment rates are supposed to be expected to be about 30%. I found another survey off MarketWatch.com, and they're actually saying that 84% of Americans say they need another stimulus check, or 1 in 3 Americans fear the first stimulus check won't sustain them for even the first month. This virus has hit people across all wealth brackets, and overgeneralizing the population and saying that this stimulus check is enough for everyone is just unfair. I understand that if a family in West Virginia or Alabama or Ohio got this $1,200 stimulus check, all their bills are stopped. Yeah, you could live off of that. But we're also taking into consideration the other states and counties in the US that have a higher cost of living than our other states that we're applying this to. New York City, California, LA, pretty much like a lot of major regions in the US, this will not be enough. Even if it wasn't 84% of Americans thinking they need another check, if it was flipped too, even if it was 16%, just 16%, with a population of 328 million Americans, that's still 52 million people that may not survive. There are people struggling right now. There are people who are gonna need food. There are gonna be people who need support from the government in order for our economy to bounce back up. I do not care the next 30, 40 years of the future if we cannot make it today and we go into an economic collapse right now because we cannot decide on how much more funding to pass to our people. You then start to look into the statistics of how much support that other entities are getting, like cruise ships, airlines, our big corporations, and then we see how little the stimulus checks actually cost to the government, and it really makes me wonder where the priorities are. Ever since the beginning, corporations have always been able to lobby for whatever they really needed. They've been able to get favorism in bills and funding, and in this instance, with this global pandemic, I'm seeing a similar trend. In my opinion, if we don't see any updates on treatments, possible vaccines, or cures that the government is able to work on, we are going to see additional funding. I usually don't get this fired up about like content like this, you guys. I hope you guys can just understand where I'm coming from. I really hope that some of you guys can understand where I'm coming from. I know a lot of this is actually speculation. No one really knows what's going on, and that's pretty much the main point of it. But I really want to give you guys the voice that is usually not heard. I want to be able to give you guys a perspective or opinion on the situation that many others may not consider. I really hope this video was able to help you guys out. Like always, don't forget to drop a like on this video. And if you guys want to support the channel, I will also have some free stocks, free bank accounts, and free just different apps that you guys can use in order to make free money during this time, because who doesn't want free money when everyone is struggling? So thank you all for the support on my recent videos. I love every single one of you guys. Stay safe out here. Wear your mask. Don't go out too often. And like always, I hope I see you guys in the next one. Peace.